Hey everyone, welcome to the Last Movie Run podcast. I'm your host, Josh Gilliam. I'm joined this week by Gary Torres.
Hey, how's it going? It is wonderful to be here.
This week we'll be talking about Joker Folie, Deux, as well as Joker 2019. But not before we talk about the news of the week. We have some DC casting news, as well as some Spider-Man 4 news. We'll also be talking about trailers like The Last of Us Season 2 and The Ballerina. And with that, Gary, let's get started.
Let's go.
All right, Gary, we've got some news of the week. We're going to be talking some DC Universe casting. Have you heard about the Lanterns casting?
I have not, but I would love to be informed.
Perfect. All right. Kyle Chandler is going to be our Hal Jordan for the DC Universe.
Okay.
Yes. Is this a name you're familiar with?
I've heard the name thrown around, but I'm not too particular.
Well, Gary, I could tell you right now he was in Friday Night Lights, I believe. I think he was the coach in Friday Night Lights. That was a show about football. High school football, that is. He was definitely in Mayor of Kingston, according to Google.
Thank you, Google.
And apparently he was also in the movie Game Nights, a movie I think nobody watched.
It's okay.
But he's a bit of an older choice, which means we're going to get a more seasoned Hal Jordan. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's going to be an interesting take, honestly. An older style, just like, it seems like he's just giving off, I think I'm tired, I'm kind of just getting a bit done with being a Green Lantern type of vibe.
I think it might be a thing where he's kind of showboating, and, you know, he's been on the job for a lot of years, and he's going to be training a younger Green Lantern, that being John Stewart, which, of course, we also got the announcement for, is going to be played by Aaron Pierre. He was most recently in Rebel Ridge on Netflix, which I believe did well. I've heard quite a few people talk about it. And from what I've seen from that movie, he was really good in it. I've actually not seen him in anything else. So I am going to assume this is also a name you're not familiar with.
I'm going to be honest, I'm going to have to say no.
Okay. Well, I could tell you both of them definitely look the part.
Did they now?
Just the first image you see of him, when you look him up, definitely says to me John Stewart. So,
okay.
I'm quite pleased with both of these castings. I think a lot of people wanted a younger choice for Green Lantern as Hal Jordan, but I think bringing him in to train this younger John Stewart is going to be a great choice.
Okay.
What are we thinking on this, Gary? Do you agree? Disagree?
I'd say it's just going to be an interesting take, and I wonder how they're going to develop it, really. I hope it does well. And anything DC related has been on the downfall, but I hope
it has.
I hope it just goes up and rises up to the occasion.
I think this show's going to be good. When they announced it, they said it was going to be a True Detective style show set in space, which True Detective is definitely the way to go when announcing properties, because I think that's kind of the pinnacle of detective TV shows in probably the past decade. Once streaming has really hit its stride, I feel like everyone's kind of comparing detective things to True Detective.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that.
So I think putting that comparison there with the Green Lantern Corps, because they are space detectives,
yep,
I think is going to be really good. And yes. I think the casting, James Gunn and Peter Safran have kind of been knocking it out of the park as far as the casting goes.
Yeah. James Gunn has been doing his job pretty well lately.
Yeah, so I think this show is going to have a lot of potential. I think the casting is showing that it's going to have a lot of potential because Peter Safran and James Gunn really know how to cast a comic book. I mean, they're really knocking it out of the park. Everything I've heard from Superman Legacy is really on point with all that. Would you agree?
I'd say so, yeah. It feels like he just knows exactly who he wants for what role, and he gets it right on the dot.
Yeah, he's also very tuned into the comic world. I mean, Warner Brothers, the DC stuff has really been floundering, and it's because the Warner Brothers execs really have no idea what to do.
Yeah, it's really saddening to see, honestly.
Yeah, so I think putting James Gunn and Peter Safran at the helm is the best thing they could have done.
It's their last option at this point. And they both do good work. So hopefully it takes it in the right direction.
I hope so. Superman Legacy is looking good cast-wise. But speaking, Gary, of the Superman Legacy cast, we did get an announcement from James Gunn on Twitter the other day that Crypto the Superdog will be making his official DCU debut in Superman 2025.
No way.
Yep. They have found, I forget exactly what he says. Let me pull up the post.
Because the only thing crypto related that has ever been was the Super Pets movies.
Oh, there's been well more than that.
Well, like of modern at least.
Modern interpretation, yes. He's in a bunch of comics. He was in that show. Do you remember there was a Crypto the Superdog animated series?
Yeah, you're right.
When you and I were kids.
That was so long ago. I forgot.
Was a long time ago.
That it was.
So they did have a dog called Azu, which was adopted shortly after starting the writing process on this new Superman movie. Mm-hmm. They based Crypto the Superdog off of this specific dog. So whether that means the CGI model is based on him or they have the actual dog on set, I think is yet to be seen. He doesn't really touch on that within this post, but we will be getting Crypto the Superdog in Superman Legacy. I don't know if it's just Superman or Superman Legacy now.
I'm not sure. One hand it's showing up as Superman, the other hand you look somewhere else and it's Superman Legacy. So I couldn't tell you with a straight answer.
I don't think they've come out and said it because everything's. I think we're gonna have to wait for that trailer to see.
Yeah,
what this movie is called.
All up in the air right now, kind of like the Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts asterisk, like we talked about last week.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
just like last time.
I think we're not gonna find that out till the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Marvel Universe, Gary, we're talking Spider-Man 4 speculation.
I'm here for it.
A whole lot of talk has been happening this week regarding Spider-Man 4. Have you heard any of it?
I need you to lay it down and lay it on me.
I love when you come to my podcast unprepared. All right, Gary, Spider-Man 4. So, there's been a lot of talk this past week on what direction was going to take. It would seem that Marvel's Kevin Feige and the Sony heads both wanted to take this project in two very, very different directions. Both of them seem to involve the Venom suit to some degree, that black suit.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, Sony has to stick their... if this was a schoolyard, Sony is the kid who's always covered in mud.
The kid that gets picked on.
Yeah, he's always trying to stick his muddy fingers and everything.
Yep.
They want to do some sort of tie-in with the Venom universe. I think it was Spum was the Sony universe.
Spum.
Yeah, it's the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel movies or something.
That is a big abbreviation. Might as well be called Shield 2 then.
Maybe. But I think they should have used that Marvel Knights logo.
They could have.
I think that would have been a better distinction than in association with Marvel.
Yeah, because they want to stick their foot in somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And this is about as big as of a foot they could stick in it. First, they put Tom Hardy into the Spider-Man No Way Home post-credit scene.
That they did.
Teasing Venom. Then it appears in the new Venom trailers that they are capturing that piece of loose Venom he leaves behind. And now people are saying that Sony is going to fully incorporate Venom into the MCU Spider-Man 4 project.
It's not a bad idea, but in personal notes, I'm not too huge on Sony's, or is it Marvel's Venom that they're doing? I'm trying to remember.
The current Marvel movies?
Yeah. That incorporate Venom, though.
I don't think it's going to be good.
Yeah.
And that would be Sony's Venom universe.
I'm not big on it, personally.
I think I like Tom Hardy in a lot of things.
He's great. Everything he does is great.
He should not have been Brock.
No?
Eddie Brock, yeah. No, I don't.
You don't feel him as Eddie?
No, I really don't. I don't think he's the right guy for the job. This is disappointing a lot of fans because I think a lot of people saw some sort of Venom collaboration coming, especially with the whole Spider-Man's rights
Yeah.
situation going on between Marvel and Sony. There was a period where we didn't even know if Tom Holland was going to be able to come back as Spider-Man because the negotiations were going so poorly. So I think a lot of people saw this coming because Sony will not stop sticking their hands into the MCU's pot.
Yeah, they want to keep reaching and reaching.
They
and
really
Marvel's
do.
saying, please stop, please leave.
Well, let me tell you, it's even more disappointing because it would seem that Marvel's original plan for Spider-Man 4, they were going between two options, is what I'm reading a lot of. And of course, this is all speculation. I don't think I said that
None
up
of it's
top.
fact.
It is
It's all
speculation.
speculation.
We're throwing it under news because it's all I'm seeing.
Yep.
But it is a lot of speculation right now. The one I like that Marvel is supposedly wanting to go with is a street level story that involves Daredevil where they go against the Kingpin.
And that would have been good.
I think that would have been great. I
Yep.
think Spider-Man is phenomenal when he's a street level hero in the comics. I think
He's in his element then.
absolutely.
Everything is way out of reach since everything's been in space, aliens.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just way out of Spider-Man's normal MO, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm in agreement.
I think that would have been really good had they gone with that. The other thing is they did announce that there are going to be two projects set in between the next Avengers movies, that being Doomsday and Secret Wars.
Okay.
Now, Gary, you and I both read comic books.
Yes, we do.
We are both familiar with the 2015 Secret Wars story and how basically is going to stick them on an alternate reality.
Yeah.
So at the end of Doomsday, I'm expecting that Doctor Doom is going to assemble Battleworld. God, I hope that's what happens.
I really hope so.
I don't.
I
I
would
hope
be
they
so
don't
excited.
flub that up. But they did announce that both projects set in between these Avengers movies will take place on Battleworld.
Okay, so there's an upside at least.
Now, people had speculated for a little bit that Spider-Man 4 was going to be one of these movies, and it was going to introduce the classic original Secret War story of how he got that black suit.
Okay.
Before it was this hyper-intelligent alien species that was a hive mind and everything. It was just some goop he bonded with.
Yeah.
It didn't make him edgy yet.
Nope.
It was just a cool
Just
black
some goop
suit.
showing up.
So that, I think, also would have been great. So I think of these three options between a street-level story, something set on Battleworld, and Tom Hardy showing up and putting on a Brooklyn accent,
Oh gosh.
I think that's the worst one.
Sadly.
Now this news unfortunately does come in saying that Marvel seems to have been losing the negotiation against Sony
Oh no.
in what to do with Spider-Man 4.
I'm not against Tom Hardy showing up, but at the same time, there's just more options.
There are a lot more options.
That there are.
Now, given how Marvel is doing, I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of tried to collapse the Tom Hardy idea with the Battleworld idea and tried to do it that way. However, I really would have liked a more classic comic accurate take on the black suit.
Because Marvel wants to lean more towards its comic book side, and that's where it really shines because everybody's looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sony wants to do their own thing, take their own part on it,
They sure do.
and that's what twists the story.
Yeah, we'll be covering this more as more news comes out, but as of right now, this is what they're leaning towards, and I don't think anyone's happy about it.
No, but we'll see how it goes. That's all we could do is wait and see.
That we can. All right, Gary, according to Variety, that 90s show has been canceled over at Netflix.
No way.
Yep, a show that no one asked for and no one watched.
This is true.
Has
but
been axed.
It's still unfortunate to see a show just shut down.
Well, Netflix is kind of the king of shutting down shows.
That is a fact. A sad fact, but a fact.
Yes, so They did cancel it after 2 seasons. I recall hearing that they had planned to do a third, but I guess that will never happen.
That it won't. That it will not.
Which is a shame because I don't think that 90s show was performing all that poorly. I mean, we'll never know because Netflix will never release that information the way they should be. They kind of leak rough ideas of like, oh, Red Notice was actually the highest performing movie ever.
Uh-huh.
So
they just want people to say, hey, tell your friends, instead of saying, hey, look at our website, look at our reviews, look at something if you're interested.
I think this is a shame because season 2 was actually getting back to what the original, that 70s show, was about. We were getting more character cameos rather than, I think, season 1 we got a handful of the original gang. They can't bring the actor. Do you remember Hyde from that 70s show?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, they can't bring him back.
No, they cannot.
So, shouldn't have. For the same reason he couldn't come back to that show he was on, The Ranch, with Ashton Kutcher, I think, was on that show.
Yeah, Ashton Kutcher.
For the same reason he can't come back to that, he could not come back to do to cameo in that 90s show because he's a bad dude, Gary.
No, say it isn't so.
He's a bad dude. You haven't heard about what Hyde did?
I have not. I'm not avid with the news, sadly.
Well, Gary, I can tell you're definitely behind. He's definitely been convicted of some bad things involving touching people.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Not the bad touch.
Yep. So moving along from Hyde, yes, that 90s show did get canceled. I don't think there were big plans. Like, there were no cliffhangers at the end of the season.
It just ended as is.
It just ended as is. From what I saw from this show, I didn't think it was that bad. I thought the performances were fine. I think that 70s show was very popular, but honestly a little outdated at the time it aired. But that was kind of the point also.
Yeah, to give it a little bit of that throwback feeling.
Mm-hmm. That 90s show was not doing it the same. They were just kind of a classic sitcom.
Yeah. They don't really land crazy now, the classic sitcom.
No, they do not. All right, Gary. I got some NCIS news for you. Are you ready for this?
I'm locked in and ready.
All right, Gary. Polly Perrette, who, if you would recall, think back to the time you were watching NCIS in 2008.
I am thinking very hard.
All right, Gary. Polly Perrette, who played Abby on NCIS, recently came out and said, I'm never coming back on that show.
That is unfortunate. How come?
Well, Gary, Mark Harmon, who is a producer on that show, he played Gibbs on it forever. He's got some big dogs that a couple years back allegedly attacked her. And that was pretty much the reason she quit, because Mark Harmon allegedly came around and said, I don't care, and I'm not putting it on a leash.
That's just called negligence then.
Yeah, maybe, Gary, but she said she's never returning to this show. Meanwhile, Mark Harmon has kind of engineered himself a whole spinoff around his character. Are you familiar with NCIS Origins that's just started coming out?
I have heard of that. I have indeed.
Yes, so we are on season 1 of, oh my god, this is like the 5th NCIS spinoff.
Too many to count.
It's ridiculous. I can't believe the mainline one is still going. CSI didn't run this long. I don't think the original Law and Order was on air this long.
Probably not.
Horrifying. But NCIS Origins is currently out on, I believe, CBS is what that show airs on. And Gary, it's honestly not looking too bad. We're looking at an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. That is the critical score, of course. There is no popcorn meter for this show because, frankly, I don't think a lot of people are tuning in.
Sadly, yeah. They're just tired of the spinoffs, probably. The show's lasted for a while. They just want to stay on mainstream because that's what they're used to then.
Yep. This show has lasted forever. And it's just the same format. It is a week-to-week thing, but it's just following young Gibbs.
I see.
But Mark Harmon did return to that as a narrator on the show, and Austin Stowell is playing young Gibbs in this show. And quite frankly, he's not a bad actor. I've seen him in some stuff. He's pretty good. So
Have you now?
to see him in this, he was in the movie Whiplash.
Whiplash was good. It was very good.
You're familiar with Bridge of Spies?
Yes. Yes, I am.
He was in that. He was also in Dolphin Tale 2.
Oh,
Was on
boy.
his resume with the original Dolphin Tale. God forbid he not come back. Interestingly enough, he was on NCIS LA.
That he was then.
So, I love bringing a guy back who no one remembers because these shows have run forever.
Yeah, they just get tired of seeing the same thing.
All right, Gary, I've got one more piece of news for you. Are you familiar with the website Screen Rant?
I have been told recently about said website.
So, I get a lot of news on here. I feel like they do a lot of top 10 lists and stuff. They break a lot of movie news, and by break, I mean they copy and paste a lot of articles that have already been published. They now want you to create an account to read certain articles on their shitty website.
Do they now?
Yes, they do.
Just to get some news like Google could give you.
Yep.
Ah, fantastic.
Yep. And that, Gary, would be my last piece of news.
Oh, boy.
So, Gary, it's time to roll into trailers.
Let's get it. We like the trailers here.
The Last of Us Season 2 trailer dropped, Gary. I am really damn excited for this.
I would hope so. Everybody's excited for this.
Oh, yeah. So
I mean,
we
Pedro
have,
Pascal did fantastic.
I was about to say, we have Pedro Pascal returning. The entire original cast will be returning for Season 2. We also have some additional casting information. And this is, of course, based on the second game, as the first season took us through the first game. So we will be seeing Caitlin Dever as Abby, which is kind of going to be the main antagonist of the season. I actually read something recently where she had to have security escort her around some places because the Last of Us fans hate her character so much.
Yeah, that's how it is. They hate the character, but they take it out on the actor. Or actress.
And I actually don't think we saw her in this teaser trailer. I don't know if you spotted her or not.
We did not.
But I think it looks really good. It's setting the tone of the intro to that game really well. I hope they deviate from that second game because I don't know if you've played it, Gary. Some big old spoilers. Some people I really like don't make it out of that game.
This is true. This is very true.
So
and let's hope they deviate very far. But if they don't, it's still a good story.
it is. I don't think it was as strong as the first, but I think people are going to like this second season because the cinematography alone in this trailer, I think it's looking really good. All the snowy parts, all the parts in, I want to say it's like a barn. It all looks, I think this is going to look top tier.
Yep, looks all top notch to me.
All right, Gary. We also have a trailer for the Ballerina. Now, this is Ana de Armas's John Wick spinoff. I honestly forgot this was coming out. I think it was announced that this and that show about the Continental, the hotel, things were announced at the same time.
Yeah, they were.
Now, I didn't watch the Continental.
I did not either, unfortunately.
And I only think it was 3 episodes.
Was it now?
Yeah,
Only
so
3?
I should get on that.
It should be a quick and easy watch.
Well, I think each episode's like an hour and 15 minutes.
I take it back. Not very quick.
No.
Maybe easy, depending if you have the time.
I don't know, but how are we feeling about the Ballerina trailer, Gary?
I'm a little bit on the 50-50 side. I like Ana de Armas. She is a great actress.
Mm-hmm.
But the way the story is, it's kind of odd to me. I'm not really for certain how, but it's very odd.
I didn't get a lot of the story from this trailer. Maybe I didn't watch it hard enough, but
All I'm aware of is that Keanu Reeves, John Wick, is training Ana de Armas
yep.
to be a licensed killer, just like he is. To take revenge from what I'm aware of from the trailer.
And I forgot the Ballerina plotline was even a thing in the John Wick movies.
Yeah, that is something I cannot remember exactly.
Those movies get real convoluted real fast.
Yeah. There's bits and pieces of story in between. Then there's the action, the fighting, the stumbling downstairs at one point, stumbling every which way.
That was the best part of John Wick 4 was that long extended fall.
That it was, where nobody thinks he should be able to keep getting up after each time he falls back down the stairs.
No, the fact he was able to walk right back up is
Absurd.
Man. So, Ballerina, this should be out, I want to say it's mid next year. Is that when it said it was coming out?
Let me see.
I think this will be good, just because I think they kind of have the John Wick formula down a little tighter these days, especially after 4.
Yeah, that they do. It comes out June 6th of 2025.
That's what I thought. Okay. So we're going to be seeing this around June in 2025. They didn't announce anything else, so I think this very well might be the final John Wick thing we see.
I hope not, but it has been running for a while.
Well, do you
And it's
also
been
remember
exciting.
the way John Wick 4 ended?
That I did. I did remember.
Mm-hmm. So, and this should be a prequel, because obviously the way John Wick 4 ended would not allow him to return in the Ballerina.
Indeed.
So this should be a prequel. I think if this universe continues, that's what we're kind of going to see, is a bunch of prequels. But I don't know, Gary. We're going to have to see how that one rolls.
As long as they don't drag it out and just overuse it, then it should be fine.
But I think they will.
Oh, boy.
I think they will. All right, Gary, we did get a trailer for a documentary called Music by John Williams. I'm excited for this. You know, I love John Williams as a composer. We're going to see a bunch of different interviews. I believe the trailer showed Steven Spielberg, as well as George Lucas is going to sit down and talk about these songs and these compositions that he did. I mean, he's really one of the best film music composers for film.
Yeah. And he's
Ever.
the most known.
Mm-hmm.
He's the most known. It's a revolutionary film that everybody knows of, even if they didn't like it. It's something everybody knows. The music is the most notable.
Yeah, I mean, not just hundreds of revolutionary films.
Yep.
I mean, he did the music for Indiana Jones, Star Wars, did so much for Spielberg.
So much.
And it's going to take him through his entire process, because, of course, he did retire
Of course.
after Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which I still argue was a good movie.
It was something.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at something.
I think that something was it being a great movie.
We do love opinions here.
I'm excited for this documentary. This should be dropping on Disney Plus, and I'll be giving it a watch when it comes out. I don't think we'll talk about it on here, but this definitely has my attention.
I will sit down and crack the popcorn, and I don't even eat popcorn.
No, but I really do enjoy a good documentary on Lucasfilm stuff. They did a documentary on Disney Plus called Lights and Magic that really runs through the creation and the continued projects of ILM, which was George Lucas's special effects warehouse. It's so interesting, Gary. It's 6 episodes.
I gotta give it a look
if
then.
you haven't. If no one's seen it, go watch Lights and Magic on Disney Plus.
I have to look for it then.
It really
I'm
is so
intrigued.
interesting. All right, Gary, we're gonna get into the big thing of the week.
Big thing.
We're gonna be talking about Joker, Folie, and then we're gonna be talking about Joker 2019. So we're gonna talk about the worst one first. Whoa, hot take! It's the new one.
The hottest of takes.
So Gary, you and I actually went and saw this movie together.
That we did.
How'd you feel about it?
It left the same impression it did for the first one. Not that it was bad or good, but it just felt very odd. I personally didn't like this one. I liked the first one,
Okay.
but the second one, it just felt like it rubbed me the wrong way for the main character, Arthur Fleck.
That was your problem with the movie? Was the main character?
No, that's just a point, though.
Okay.
There's multiple points, but that's just one.
And Gary, what would you say this movie was about?
That is difficult, because I want to say it's about Arthur Fleck, but really, half the time, it's also about Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn,
Yep.
and it's just broken up to really who is really the Joker here.
And that is an interesting point because they do bring in Lady Gaga. I think she does a good job in this because I'm actually of the opposite opinion of you, where obviously Joker 2019, great movie.
Yep.
But I actually thought this was a pretty solid follow-up.
Okay.
So,
Care to elaborate then?
we'll get into it. But
Understandable.
let's first get into the casting on this movie. So, of course, we had Joaquin Phoenix returning as the Joker. I think he continues to be good in this. And then we also, of course, got Lady Gaga as Harley Lee Quinzel. A little bit of a deviation with that character. She's not a psychiatrist. She's just some girl. We also got Harry Lottie as Harvey Dent, who I thought was incredible in this.
He was. I cannot deny. He played Harvey Dent to the T.
We have some returning faces. Lee Gill as Gary Puddles came back. I think he did really well. In this, he had a very emotional scene.
Yeah, that
Both-
he did.
Both the first and second one put his character through the ringer.
Yeah, he did not catch a break, that poor
No,
guy.
he did not. We had Catherine Keener in this movie, as well as, I want to say Tim Dillon and Brendan Gleeson. Brendan Gleeson was that head guard at Arkham.
Okay.
And honestly, there weren't a ton of characters in this. Now that I'm
No.
really thinking about it.
I think it was just because they did more of that musical take, so they didn't
did.
show too many characters. They just only showed you who they wanted to show you.
Yes, they did. Now, Gary, most of this movie takes place in a courtroom.
And that is a fact.
A lot of this movie
It's either the courtroom or Arkham Asylum.
is in regards to Arthur Fleck's trial after he is, killed that interviewer in the first Joker movie. He's immediately arrested, as we see in Joker, and this is a very, very direct continuation of that.
Yep. Yes, it is.
So we're getting his court case because he does go to trial despite them trying to do an insanity plea. And we do follow a lot of his time in Arkham. Now, the courtroom specifically, I think, is where the meat of this movie is.
Yeah, I would agree that the courtroom is the meat and potatoes.
I love a lot of the stuff in the courtroom.
Yeah, he's practically losing his sanity with each time he's coming back. But at the same time, he's trying to really deviate who he truly is.
Yeah, a lot of this is deciphering, is there an alternate personality here that is Joker? And a lot of it comes out in that courtroom where it could be an alternate personality. It could be just a lunatic.
Act.
It could be an act.
It's a
But
list.
I think a lot of the courtroom scenes are very compelling. I think a lot of it is done very well with the actors involved. Joaquin Phoenix really kills it in this. I think the guy who plays the judge puts up with a lot of shit in that courtroom.
That
Like
he
I
does.
said,
No judge would ever put up with all that.
no. Like I said, the guy who plays Gary Puddles puts on an incredible performance in that courtroom, and we'll get into that a little more in spoilers, but, just a man whose life is ruined. So, I really love this courtroom stuff. I love what's happening with Harley Quinn in the middle of that.
Yeah, she's swaying his, I want to say his equilibrium, but really like just picking at his brain, trying to depict the parts that are Joker, wanting to keep him on the Joker side.
Oh, yeah. I really like this, but I think we can't move on without talking about the music.
Yeah, more than it feels like at least 50% of the movie is musical side, and they did disclose that.
I don't think it was quite 50%.
You don't think so?
No, I really feel like this had a lot of music in it, but I think it wasn't the bulk of it.
You don't think so?
No. I think it starts off very interesting. It does that weird little cartoon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of stuff I'm reading online, people are like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that."
Yeah, I think it's just because a lot went on when it came to the musical side of it. Just because it changed the whole scenery, or even if it didn't, it's like changing your perspective on what's going on.
Yeah.
Keeping you attached everywhere else.
With the music, I think Joaquin Phoenix is actually a surprisingly good singer.
Yeah. I can agree there. He sounded really good.
I think he actually has a very good voice for what he's doing. Obviously, Lady Gaga is doing a lot of really good stuff. Because that's her day job.
That's what she does.
And frankly, I think they're the only two who actually sing.
Yeah. They're the only ones that really like sing the rest of the time. Anybody else that was singing didn't get like a whole scene for it like them. It was just a snippet for them to like sing, get their feelings out, and then they just went away in some sort of way.
Agreed. I think the only other person who comes to mind who sings is when they're in Arkham. The head prison guard does a lot of singing, just as like you sing to pass the time.
Yeah.
When you're bored and it's the 80s and there's nothing going on, you know?
Just trying to kill time, really.
A big song there is When the Saints Come Marching In.
Yeah.
Because he sings that a lot, and then it becomes kind of a thing of revolt or contention amongst the inmates where they sing it as well.
Yep.
Overall, I don't think the music detracted from this. I think going in, knowing it was a musical, I think it added to it, actually.
It did give it a bit more of a bit more emotion than the characters would show, because the movie, for at least the first one, was known for a dark tone. Everything was very, like, either quiet or very aggressive, just very dark. So it gave it a bit more light to the dark. It gave it a good contrast, it feels like.
In parts, yes. I would argue this movie is very dark. Almost darker than the original sometimes.
It's just to give it a different different light, you know? Mm-hmm. It's not deviating, but like it's just to give it a bit of brightness.
Yes, and a lot of people are not going out to see this because no one knew it was a musical.
Yeah.
Even though I would argue the trailer showed it was a musical.
There was a lot of dancing.
They were hiding it. They just... I think a lot of people showed up and weren't expecting that.
Yeah, because I can't lie. I knew it was going to have musical portions in it. I just didn't know, one, how many, or two, how deep they would go with it.
And I think that was a lot of people's same reactions. I mean, you and I are not the average moviegoer because we're obviously sitting here talking very in-depth about movies and what's happening.
Yep, if it's a subject we like and we know pretty decently, then we'll dive into it.
Yeah, but... You know, the average moviegoer, I think they see, oh, Joker 2 is out, and they go see it, and then suddenly there's a bunch of song and dance.
Yep.
Because, Gary, this movie is sitting at 32%.
Ooh, that is grossly low.
And I'm not talking critical or audience. They are both sitting at 32%.
Jeez.
Yep. So... I think, in response to that, I want to ask you, do you think if they'd kept the same plot beats, would this have worked without the music?
I think it could have worked. It could have been fine, because it felt like the musical kind of just added emphasis on how his mind is thinking of the situations. Mm-hmm. So the music was emphasizing it, because it wasn't really giving too much idea of what's going on with Arthur Fleck compared to the first one. His mindset was constantly just of all his trauma and like what he wants to do, what is going on with him, but really it dives into how he's seeing everything unravel, unfold, and continue on with the second film.
Yeah, I would mostly agree with that. I definitely think most of these plot points would have still hit exactly the same. It's almost like the director Todd Phillips saw everything and said, you know what this needs? Some song and dance. Why? I don't know how else to pad this.
Let's get the lights, let's get the music, get the numbers out.
Get everything out. We're putting on a show.
Get the baby grand right there.
Get the baby grand. Someone get Kermit the Frog on it.
Oh boy, I would have loved to see that one.
Now, another thing I want to talk to you about is the love story. That is a hefty part of this.
It really is.
Between Arthur Fleck and Lee. It's definitely a far cry from what was in that first movie, love story-wise, which we will get into. What'd you think of it?
I think their love was more of just a thrill for Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's looking for Joker and not Arthur. And Arthur wanted to be Joker for Lee, but he couldn't.
Yeah.
Mentally. So he devises his own fantasy of loving her. He did love her, but she didn't love him, and he didn't feel any love when it came to being Arthur.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting the way a lot of it plays out, especially how they both meet in what is essentially the mental ward of the prison.
Yeah, the minimum security is where they meet.
And how everything plays out and the twists and reveals and what's real in this relationship and what's not real. And with that, I think we should get into some spoilers. But before that, out of 3 stars, how would you rate this movie?
1 being bad and 3 being good.
Correct.
I want to give it a 1 of my own personal opinion, but in all honesty, I would have to give it at least a 2.5.
No half scary.
Then a solid 2.
Okay.
I can't give it a 3 because I personally didn't like it. But the way it's executed and the way everything was laid out, all the twists and turns with it, it was good. It's just personally I wasn't a fan, but it was good.
I am right there with you. I think the twists and everything were good enough, and the story kicks you along at a really solid pace. I think the musical parts really don't detract as much as people are saying it does. So I'm very happy with this. I don't think it's a 3, but I don't think it's a 1. So I think we're going to sit it in that
solid 2.
Solid 2, which I think is 2 is
it's pretty reasonable.
If you want something to go see at the theaters, go check it out. But I wouldn't blame you if you missed it.
Yeah, not too personally tied to it.
That being said, definitely go check this out because, Gary, we're getting into spoilers.
Spoiler time.
So, I want to start off talking about what's happening with Harley and Arthur's relationship. Because, like I said, they kind of meet in that minimum security wing of Arkham. And it very quickly devolves into, I'm in love with you. Not you, though. I'm in love with the Joker.
Yeah. It really just kept twisting his mind.
She's got him wrapped around his finger, and I feel bad for him because his lawyer, I believe it is.
Yep,
yeah,
his lawyer.
The lawyer is really trying to string along this insanity.
She's pushing for
play.
Arthur Fleck.
Mm-hmm.
She's pushing for him, while Lee is just pushing for Joker.
Yeah, because Lee in this movie is a big Joker supporter.
Yep.
We still see the public donning all of the Joker makeup and the persona from that first movie because the city is still in revolt.
Yep, because it wasn't long after the murder of Murray.
Yes. So I think it's interesting to see that she's not the obsessive psychiatrist or therapist we normally see her as.
No.
She's just some lady who's in a minimum security wing. And as that rolls on, and as the lawyer is kind of telling her, to back off.
You're making everything worse.
Because she was.
Yep.
She really was making everything worse for Arthur, because the insanity plea should have gone through. Frankly,
it fits.
The fact that he went to trial because they said this guy, he was of solid mind when he killed all those people in the first one. That's ridiculous.
Every 2 seconds, he's losing his mind whether he should or shouldn't kill these people.
Absolutely.
He's trying to divulge reason into the choices he made.
But I definitely think they just wanted to put him away.
They did. He
Not
did
give
murder
him proper help.
5 people, 6 counting his mother.
Yep. So I think it's interesting to see that she's really working for this insanity plea, and Harley has come in. And as it turns out, she had told Arthur that, my mother put me here because I tried to burn the house down.
Mm-hmm.
And as the movie goes on, we find out that she had voluntarily checked in.
And voluntarily checked out.
And at one point she voluntarily checks out, although she tells Arthur that her mother has checked her out.
Yep.
We find out that she had checked herself out because she had only checked herself in to meet Arthur and try and fall in love with him.
Yep. Everything she told him having to do with herself was a lie.
Yeah. And we find out she's getting checked out while he's in solitary confinement.
He gets put into solitary after.
Does he?
Yeah. Because they meet 3 times before their big music number of wanting to get out.
I'm talking about when she checks herself out.
When she checks herself out. Yeah, then yes.
You're right, though, because there is that part where they try and escape, and they're just yoinked right back in, but that's when the media is also seeing her.
Yep.
So, it's interesting that she has become a public figure in the midst of this. They do a really weird sex scene while he's in solitary confinement, and this rolls around into her telling him that she is pregnant.
Yep.
And I think a big part of that is, was she really?
Honestly, I feel like it was another lie just to keep the Joker wrapped around her finger part.
I wouldn't be surprised. Much like the first Joker movie, there's a large element to this where it's what's really in his head.
Yeah, what's really going on, what's not deception, what is reality.
Mm-hmm. Because despite what the state claimed, this guy's a nut.
He's absolutely insane. And they convict his laugh, even though it's a medical condition.
Yeah. He's definitely pushed to be this Joker persona by her. And it's solely because she wants to be with the Joker. She does not care about Arthur Fleck at all.
No.
And it's very interesting to see how when he's on stand and during the final kind of say in the trial, when it's time for his final statements, he comes out and he's been pushed to this Joker persona. He fires his lawyer and he says, hey, I don't want to be the Joker, actually. I want to be Arthur Fleck.
Yep.
It's interesting to see her reaction.
Yeah. They were all hoping that he would stay Joker so they could convict him to be hanged or whatever they were gonna do. They were hoping he was something that they could just convict him for. But then he just comes out and says, no, it was me. I'm me. I'm not him.
Yeah.
And I just can't put up with it anymore.
They wanted him to be a martyr.
Yep.
And
a symbol.
When that explosion goes off and he escapes the courthouse and goes and confronts her, and it's nothing about, oh, well, you're out, great, let's go together. It is all about, oh, well, it ran its course, I guess. It's over. You said it was over.
You said it was over. You said you're not the Joker.
And it's because she's not in love with Arthur Fleck, and that's very interesting to watch.
Yep. Very sad and heartbreaking.
And something else I wanted to touch on, within spoilers, was that courtroom scene, because Harvey Dent is in this. He's really good at being a really slimy lawyer.
Yep. He was sure he had him set right there.
Mm-hmm. And watching like the Joker persona come out when he fires his lawyer, and watching this guy, just absolutely ruin his time on the stand.
Yep.
And seeing Harvey Dent go like, man, I've got this in the bag.
Light work, easy, done.
The easiest. I thought that was great. I think he does a really good job being this district attorney who just knows he's won.
Yep.
And
Highly decorated district attorney.
I think it's interesting. Did you catch what happened to him after the explosion?
That I did, and that's funny. The guy next to us that was watching it was even more shocked that it happened than we were.
I figured something like this was going to happen. I kind of hoped he would just stay Harvey Dent. But at the end, there is an explosion in the courthouse. Someone sets off a car bomb as they're delivering their verdict, the jury that is. And we pan over to Harvey Dent afterwards, and he does have half of his face has been damaged.
Yep. And the scarring from the explosion.
Mm-hmm. So I think how they handle Harvey Dent in this is interesting. The whole love story is interesting. The prison guards, I think, are good in this at just beating the shit out of Joaquin Phoenix.
Yep.
I think Joaquin Phoenix is great in this. But Gary, what I really want to talk to you about is the ending.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about that?
The ending, it just, I feel like they just wanted to do that just because they said that they were done with this one.
Mm-hmm.
After 2, they were just done.
Mm-hmm.
So, I feel like they could have kept going if they didn't end it the way they did.
Potentially, yes.
But I'm okay that they ended it, not with how they ended it.
Then, that's fair. I do think this ended on a very sour note. I know after the release of the first one, the director Todd Phillips came out and said, well, he could just be the guy who inspired the Joker. He's not really the Joker.
He could be.
And it's interesting that, of course, at the end of this movie, Arthur Fleck is stabbed to death right before he's about to meet someone who I really thought he was about to go see Harley Quinn, but we'll never know.
Nope. It's just left on a cliffhanger of who he was going to see, because nobody was on his side.
No.
So it's a real coin toss of who it could have been.
Correct, but did you notice the guy who stabbed him was laughing hysterically?
That he was.
And he told him a joke right before he did it. So
And the joke related to the first movie.
Yeah, it did. So I think when I saw that, it kind of harkened back to Todd Phillips saying, well, what if he just inspired the guy?
Yeah. It's not a bad idea. He was just a figure when he gave up being Joker.
Very true. Very interesting things to think about, Gary. All right, should we wrap it up here with Joker, Folie, Deux?
I think so.
All right, but Gary, we can't do that just yet because we have a segment now on this show.
Oh, boy,
we got
segments.
a segment. It's going to be some quick trivia, Gary. I'm going to throw some trivia at you, and you're going to go, wow, that was some trivia.
That is what I do best.
All right, Gary, did you know that Folie Deux means madness of two in French?
Oh, I did not.
Quick trivia, Gary. That's what the whole point of the show is. You didn't know that. Apparently,
fast.
the jury says the people of New York and not Gotham City when addressing the final verdict.
That did bug me. I will admit that.
So you did catch that.
That I did.
Perfect. Do you know this is Joaquin Phoenix's first sequel?
Really now?
According to the IMDb trivia section.
Thank you, IMDb.
Director Todd Phillips refused to talk to James Gunn or Peter Safran in the process of making this movie, even though it's their DC universe.
He must have been rubbed the wrong way at the thought of it.
Quite frankly, I'm not surprised by that. He does not seem like a guy who plays well with others.
Oh boy.
Although this was the first movie in the Elseworlds lineup to be announced. I don't know if you remember that, Gary. They said everything is happening in the DCU is DCU. All the side stories like the Batman and Joker were DC Elseworlds. This was the first to be released under that DC Elseworlds line that had not yet been out. So the Batman and Joker were labeled under it, but those had already been released. So this was the first release under DC Elseworlds.
Okay.
And Gary, my final thing says Todd Phillips said that he doesn't want to work with the Joker character anymore.
No?
Could you believe such a thing?
I can't, actually.
He did 2 of them. Why wouldn't he want to do a third? Who stops at 2? Make a trilogy.
The trilogies are what give you the big bucks.
Make a trilogy. You made that impossible because you killed the guy, but
This is true.
do it anyway.
Figure it out.
Stick his corpse in some makeup.
Get him out of the box.
Get him out of the box. Make a third movie. Make it a musical again. Have Harley Quinn sling the skeleton around.
Yep.
Put some makeup on the skeleton.
Dance it around.
It'll be great. $2 billion he just left on the table.
Oh, boy.
All right, Gary. Joker 2019 was certainly a movie we had to watch for this, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And how'd you feel about that?
2019 Joker, personally, very dark. To me, darker than the first one.
Okay.
But I want to say it was good. But like the human in me after watching everything that happened says it was horrible. Not that it sucked or anything like that. It's just horrible the way they showed everything that happened.
Well, that first movie definitely didn't pull any punches in showing why this guy is losing his mind, did he?
They did not. They
So-
showed him breaking down.
What'd you think of his relationship with his mother? Because that's kind of a big part of this movie.
It was a pretty bad relationship. His
not
mom
great.
saying, take him away, and Soldier Stars gave him back.
Yeah, she's definitely not winning any awards here.
Most definitely not.
So, I think it's interesting that this got so much play in the first movie, because I didn't remember that this got so much play in this movie until I went back and rewatched it. I truly forgot how much of this laid on the shoulders of the relationship with the mother and the relationship with the neighbor.
Yep.
Because, all I really remembered from that movie was him executing
Yeah.
the talk show host.
Executing the host, just practically getting rid of everybody.
And
the
we're
way
not doing
they did.
spoilers for this.
That
This came
we
out
didn't.
5 years ago. If you didn't see it, it's your fault.
This is a fact. Everything is just on the table here.
I won't apologize, Gary.
It's not an apology. It's just letting everybody know.
I won't.
Everything's on the
I
table.
won't apologize.
Don't do it.
It's all on the table, Gary.
This is not the spoiler segment.
There is no spoiler segment. All right.
Fair enough.
Now we're going to talk about every single person he killed because I hate spoiler sections. He definitely killed 3 men on a subway, didn't he?
That he did.
How'd you feel about him getting bullied?
He seemed like he got bullied all the time just for being a clown.
Yep.
Because his mom lied to him.
Well, his mom definitely did a weird lie, too, because he has that weird, medical condition where he laughs uncomfortably, and she's like, nah, you do that because you want to make people happy.
Yep.
It's a tick.
It's a tick that he cannot control.
And
Whether he's feeling in pain or he's actually feeling happy, he will laugh.
Yep. And what really sucks is how bad Gotham City's services are.
They really
because
don't
part
care.
of this movie is they just shut down the social service system, so he can't get his medication anymore.
Yep.
And that really leads to him, dressing up, killing some guys.
Putting on his fake smile every day.
Oh yeah. So I think it's really speaks volumes about the city, but that is of course is part of this, where he meets Thomas Wayne, who might be his father, might not be his father, because again, a big part of this movie as well as the sequel is what's really in his head.
What's really truth? What's really going on?
I think a terrible part of the sequel is confirming part of what was and wasn't in his head.
Yep.
So we now know that he did in fact kill 6 people.
This is true.
Which I guess we knew at the end of that because he was riding away in a cop car.
Yep.
But at that point, all we knew was he had truly killed the talk show host.
Yes.
But now we know that he's killed 6 people. He's a nut. He sure did put on all that makeup. He sure did some weird dances around. He walked down that flight of stairs, Gary. Never in my life did I assume that was going to be a part of a dream.
No. Those stairs were magical.
Only a real man could walk down those stairs like that.
Yes. A man of character.
What I want to ask you, Gary, is how do you feel about Thomas Wayne and Arthur Fleck's relationship? Because they really shoehorn that in here, don't they?
They really do. They just pull him out of nowhere saying, hey, he could be your dad. And Thomas Wayne just is like, oh no. She was a maid here at one point. She's just crazy. She talks all this nonsense. There's no way you're my son.
Yep. He, no possible amount of sympathy could have come from that man during that conversation.
Nope.
He's like, no.
Just deny, get out of here, get lost.
Says
Don't know you. Get out of
your
here.
mother's a nut. You're a nut. You're not my son. Beat
Get
it.
out of here.
Kick a can on the way out.
Yep.
And he has that weird bit where he meets Bruce Wayne. Don't think we needed that.
No,
Just like
we
I
did
said,
not.
I feel like that was kind of shoehorned in here.
It really does make you think when they put that scene in that he could just be the steps of somebody else actually becoming the Joker.
Correct.
Since Bruce Wayne was a child there.
Yeah, I think so much of this was left in the air that the sequel confirms.
Yeah.
Everyone around him sucks, Gary.
That is fact.
Every single person around Arthur Fleck sucks. His mother sucks.
The only one that didn't suck was Gary Puddles.
Yeah.
The only one that
And
considered him a friend.
we see in the second one, he has absolutely ruined Gary's life.
Yep. He's ruined Gary's life, and Gary is absolutely just devastated
He's
for
having
the way his life has
constant
turned
mental
out.
breakdowns.
Yep.
He has one on the stand. It's really emotional.
Yes.
But those guys on the subway hate him. They suck. His mother sucks. His neighbor sucks.
Yep.
Because that's for sure all in his head.
Yes.
You know who really sucks? His coworker who sees him getting bullied.
And does nothing.
And gives him a gun.
Oh, yeah. I
And
forgot.
says,
Can't
hey,
forget. You could borrow that.
You protect yourself.
Yep.
And
You
then the
just borrowed
police
it.
show up.
Is that yours?
Yeah, that could never be mine, actually. I've never seen that gun in my life. Hand it off to someone? Wouldn't dream of it. That's his.
Mm-hmm.
The worst possible guy.
Yep.
All right, Gary. His stand-up routine.
Oh.
I don't think it was terrible,
No.
but the fact that even after the first time I saw it, I will never remember the talk show host name.
Murray.
Murray?
We'll just call him Robert De Niro because that's who it is.
Absolutely. Robert De Niro had no reason at all to put that on his show. It wasn't great. You didn't have to blow him up like that.
Nope, they did not.
No, and that really gave him the confidence to be the Joker, didn't it?
Yep. It really solidified his thought process on, okay, I guess I am the Joker.
Oh, yeah. I think between that and I think the part where he breaks into the neighbor's apartment because he's a big creep.
Mm-hmm.
And when she freaks out, he's just like, I just had a bad day. Just had a bad day. That's all. Like, this is not a guy who wants to do all this stuff. Like, he really has been pushed to the edge.
Yep. He doesn't know how to act because he hasn't had the time to learn how to act.
Mm-mm.
He's been pushed around all his life. His mother pushes him around. He doesn't have stability.
No, he definitely does not. So I think the way this ultimately culminates is, he shoots Robert De Niro. I think that's all really interesting. The way he's invited onto that show and just bullied.
Yeah, he's just straight up bullied. They kind of know that he's done some things here and there.
Mm-hmm.
They're not exactly for certain, but they still put him on the show anyway.
I'm puzzled as to how he made the cut to begin with. They put him on the show 1 week, and then he's, starting to do some stuff, become a figure, and then they're like, what if we put a known anarchist on this show? What do you think I would do? What do you think I would roll? Not well, Robert De Niro.
Not well. Because apparently he got what he deserves.
Yeah, phenomenal line, frankly.
And how they say it again in the second film is even crazier.
Yeah. And I do like how a lot of the people from this first movie actually make appearances on the stand in the courtroom in the second.
Yep.
I thought that was really interesting. Especially to see the point of view from the neighbor, like him fantasizing about her.
Yeah. Just fawning over her all the time. And she's like, I didn't really know him. I knew his mother.
Yeah.
But he was just the guy that passed by in the hallway.
Yeah, she got very little play in this.
Yeah. But it was enough impact.
Yeah. Gary got more play in this than she did.
Yeah.
I was really surprised by that because she was more of a figure in that movie than Puddles.
Yeah, Puddle seemed like the high and by half the time where it was like, oh, you're my work buddy. We work at the same job. And then it's more of just, oh, my neighbor, she's absolutely gorgeous. She's got her daughter, but I could try and take care of her with my clown money.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yep.
That'll support a family in Gotham City.
Look how that turned out.
So, Gary, how many stars would you give this out of 3?
Would I give the first one?
The first one, yes.
The first one, I'd give it a 3.
I would agree. I think it's a really stellar movie.
Yep.
I think this got the ratings it did for a reason. I want to say it was at like 89% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I'd say so too, but
I mean,
you can't be too careful with these things.
you fact checking me?
No, not fact checking. More like just getting some accuracy for our listeners.
God.
It is a 68 on Rotten Tomatoes.
89% audience score.
There you go.
I'm only half wrong, ladies and gentlemen.
That is A-okay.
Yeah, that infamous stair scene. Ugh, there's too many memes about it, Gary.
The same stairs is what's crazy.
Yeah, I love that the stairs even get some play in the sequel.
Yep. Because the stairs was his turning point.
It really was. And it, interestingly enough, was kind of the turning point back in the sequel.
Yep. It really showed you how his life turned out once he got to the stairs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this kind of overview between these movies of this guy's life and craze thing, I think is all very interesting. And I think, unless there's anything else you have to say about Joker 2019, Gary, we're going to wrap it up.
I'm okay with that. I am solid.
All right, Gary. So, you were on this podcast this week for a very specific reason.
That I was.
Gary, we're going to have our own podcast. Can you believe such a thing?
I cannot, but it is exciting.
So, here on the last movie run, I do alternate through some co-hosts. Next week, we will have a different co-host from you were in the first episode as well. We're going to have someone brand new.
Brand spanking new.
So, you and I will be continuing our podcast journey together. We're going to be doing another bi-weekly podcast where we talk everything comic books.
I'm excited.
So, Trading Paperbacks will be debuting next week. Gary, you will be my permanent co-host on that. Maybe we'll have some other people along the way. Who knows, man?
Only the books will tell. The next volume.
So, I'm very excited to sit down and record these with you. I think they're going to be a lot of fun to listen to. They're going to be a little more compact and tight, I think. Gary, I know your expertise lays mostly in Marvel.
Yeah, that's where I lay my roots.
I've got some expertise all over the board, although it is mostly in Marvel.
It's the bread and butter.
But Gary's going to be so much fun. It's going to be premiering next Friday, October 25th.
Oh boy.
We're going to be talking about comics that release on the 23rd as well as the 16th. And we will be bi-weekly from there on out. All right, Gary, this has been the Last Movie Run podcast. Where can you find us?
You can find us on Spotify and links in our own bios if you follow our Instagrams.
And I was about to say that. So I am, of course, the host, Josh Gilliam. You can find me at Gilliam Audio on Instagram and Twitter.
I am Gary_TRREZ22 on Instagram.
And you can check us both out there. Gary, thank you so much for being on the show.
Of course, anytime.
And like we said, you can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Music. Hell, we'll be on iHeartRadio's podcast setup. And of course, the Fourth Dimension Broadcasting channel on YouTube will be putting everything out there from The Last Movie Run to trading paperbacks. I've been the host, Josh Gilliam, and thank you all for listening to The Last Movie Run.